If you enjoy watching Common Ground online, please consider making a tax-deductible donation at lptv.org. Lakeland Public Television presents Common Ground, brought to you by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota. Welcome to Common Ground. I'm your host, Scott Knudsen. In this two-part episode, we visit a historic schoolhouse where those who taught the greatest generation meet for teacher's tea. Then check out the Hazel Dell Library, far in the fields of rural Leader.
My name is Sue Lund. I am the director of the Hazel Dell Library. It's located right outside of Leader. We are way out in the country. This is a 1800s school building, and it has been since transformed into this volunteer library. We're a library that's not like your traditional library. It's all donations. All these books have been donated by companies or people. We've also got a different way of checking out books here. Here you just come in, take the books you want, write them down on a notebook, write the date, the author, the title, and then when you bring the books back, you lay them on the desk and you cross the ones you brought back. There's no time limit. We have lots of people that are snowbirds, and they come here in the fall, load up on a ton of books, take them down to Florida or wherever they go, and bring them back the next spring. One of the first things we thought of when we thought of do we charge late fees, do we have people check out books and only keep them for 2 weeks, is the fact that we are in a rural area. A lot of the kids around here, we try to promote reading, but if you're a farm kid, you're doing a lot of chores in the summertime, and you don't exactly have time to read a book in 2 weeks. Some of the kids around here are voracious readers, but we want to promote not that timeline and not that money penalty for not bringing them back. We also have videos, CDs, and VCRs. We realize that VCRs are pretty much out of date now, but we have a VCR machine for anybody that wouldn't have one anymore. We have audiobooks, magazines. There's a lot of excellent books here, just really awesome, and some of the most newest authors and some of the newest books. And then, of course, then we have some of the most oldest authors, the classics, and then we have some of the oldest books. We have a whole area of fiction, nonfiction, autobiographies, true stories, kids' books that are sorted into young adults and young children. We just have everything anyone could ever want here. We're always asking for donations, either monetary or books. With how packed everything is in here with all the books, you wouldn't think we would need not one single one more. But we're always looking to fill out that series. We're always looking for a book that's in better condition maybe, or newer than the ones that we have. And when we go through them, whatever books that we don't use, we pay it forward. Like, for instance, right now we gave the local church 6 boxes of books to sell on their garage sale. Whatever they don't use then, we'll come back here, and then we'll go through them, and then whatever we don't keep or try to sell, we give to other libraries that are doing the same thing we're doing. Well, a lot of the locals show up, quite a few. We've got a couple of groups of horse ranchers that come here, and they they take out the books all the time. And there's quite a few young people My daughter was just here with her 2 kids that she babysits for. She brings them here just to kind of keep them busy, you know. And then you're teaching those kids something at the same time. I have one young gal that lives around here. She comes just to get away from the hubbub of her house. She comes and she sits down, she grabs a book. I don't know if she's ever checked one out. She may be grabbing the same book every time, but she just sits down for about a half an hour and reads. One thing I just absolutely love about this area is we've had so much support from everybody. There's such a wide range of different people here, and they come looking for so many different kinds of books. We have so many people around here that aren't connected to the internet, don't have the fancy new smartphones, don't have the tablets for reading. And it's just very awesome to me as a constant reader to have people come in here and check out all different kinds of books and come back, and I'll always ask them, okay, what'd you think of that one? Was that one good? Oh yeah, and you wouldn't believe how long they will go into telling me about the story, and it's like, wait, I want to read it. So it's just really neat to be able to offer this to people.
I am Ruth Bolden. I'm one of the directors of the Hazel Dell Library at Leader, Minnesota. I was not one of the first ones, well, more or less. I helped instigate the idea of having a local library because we are so far from the public libraries. But I wasn't in on the first work, being sort of a lazy person. We had a lot of people donate work. They built the shelves, collected books, and all sorts of different things. We've had people that have donated money and time, and we just can't express our appreciation enough for the people that have helped. This room in back was the woodshed for the old school, and when we got here, there was a pile of coal in there, and we had to remove that, and it had to be shoveled out, shovelful by shovelful, carried to the door. Oh, what a mess. I saved some, and when we were raising money, Shirley Feeks made little hand pouches, and I put 3 lumps of coal in each one, and I sold them. And we got $115 for those Christmas presents because there was a little note on it that said, "You thought you were good this year," you know. So that was kind of interesting. This started somewhere around 2002, probably before that, but the minutes that we have start in 2002. And it's been operating ever since. We have raised money by having rummage sales, selling Christmas coal, all sorts of different things, and we've had good donations from people. What we need is someone interested in coming and spending an hour or 2 hours, one day a week or one day a month, to have the building open. And many of the people who first worked on this have moved away. Some have died. Some are quite ill. When we first started, this was an old schoolhouse. I think it was built in the 1890s because all of the little schoolhouses around here were built about the same time, and my mother taught in one of them, and teachers used to write their name and the year they worked in the desk drawer. And my mother's signature is in the desk drawer of the museum up at Walker, Minnesota. And I know when she was married and so on, so I've figured these were all, they're carbon copies of each other. And I think that's probably when they were built. A group of us got to talking about it's so hard to get to the public libraries. We ought to have a library here. Now this is sort of out of the way, and we don't get all of the people because they are in a hurry. They go to town, they go back, and this is 2 miles off the road. So if we could possibly get a building like in the village of Leader, we would be more happy because we'd be more convenient for the people. The people that come up for the summer, they go right through Leader. And if we could be there, they could just stop in. As it is, they have to come out of their way.
But there's so much to offer right here. We'd really love to see more people. We're really hoping for someday having a bigger place to have this in. We're hoping for more people to come and enjoy this.
This was District 1. It was the very first organized school district of Morrison County. It was started actually in 1849 as a school for Indian children principally, and they allowed white children to come. It was organized as a school district in 1855, which would be a year before Morrison County became a county, 3 years before Minnesota became a state. And this one is the third building of the school district. It started out in a little log mission cabin, which is where they held school for 10 years. Then in 1865, they built a stick-built one, which burnt something before 1875 when this building was built.
Somebody had bought the lot and wanted to build a house. They said, either you move the school or we'll burn it down. And that was a bad word. So my husband and I have a farm. We're about a mile north of the school. So we said you could bring it to our farmstead. So it sat there for 31 years. Our children, we have 5 children, and 4 of the 5 children have teaching degrees, and I think they all went out there and played school. And my youngest daughter, she had a directory, and she had students' names and report cards. She was very imaginary.
It was sitting on the Brutscher farm for 31 years, and there was one of the fair board members that was aware the school was out there, and he was kind of working on the board because he wanted it here. Well, he left the board, and his replacement was even much more aggressive about getting it here. His name was Dennis Nelson. And he really pushed for it to be moved here. And when June called one day and said, guess what? The school's going to go to the fairgrounds. And I thought, what? You mean? It's going to happen yet? And so, okay, I'm very happy about that. But then she said, down the road a bit, now they're looking for someone to kind of oversee the restoration of it, and they want to know if she would be willing to do that. Well, she calls and she says, it's not something I can do alone. And I know you went there, I'm sure you might be interested in doing it. And I'm saying, hallelujah, Ellen's just jumping for joy up in heaven, because what we wanted to happen is going to happen. And that's how I became involved in it. Because of the fact this is my school. I went here through my elementary years, and both of my children did also. But to me, it wouldn't have made any difference what rural school would have come here. I would have been maybe not as dedicated as I have been to working with this one, but I would have been very much involved to it with its goings on down here. I had the best education you could ask for coming in out of a country school. And I can appreciate what country school teachers had to do, how little they earned for doing it. And I'm continuously asked, you know, you taught, didn't you? No, I didn't teach. I never thought I would have the patience to be a teacher. So no, but they seem to think that because I'm as involved with the school as I am, I must have been a teacher. No, I was just a dedicated student.
The first school I got, I was very fortunate. In our normal training class, we had 13 pupils, and there were only about 6 or 7 of us that got schools at the first year. And I was fortunate to get to school, but it was a most very trying year because the experience I had with handling pupils was not very much. And I was 18, I had just turned 18, and some of these boys in this first school were 13, 14 years old. Impossible to handle because they had very little discipline the year before. And the school building was just a typical school like this, 3 windows on each side, and a small entry where they would hang their clothes and leave their lunches as they came in the morning. The fountain where they got their drinking water was in this entry. We did not have a well on the school ground, so the water had to be carried from a place directly across the road, and the pupils were very unhappy when it was their week to bring the water. We had a dipper. We didn't even have a fountain at that time. We had a dipper and a water in the pail. And can you imagine the sanitary conditions and how amazing we stayed as well as we did? The school was heated by a big round stove with a jacket around it, like all rural schools had. There was a shed where both wood and coal were stored. And I roomed just across the road from the school, but I would have to go over and on Sunday night, if it was possible, and start the fire so it was warm in there on Monday morning. But the nights of the week, I didn't have to do much because there was enough there, so when I came in the morning, just put fuel on the stove. The attendance was large. I had over 30 pupils, all grades. So one class only lasted about 15 minutes. Spell downs were special. I'm sure some of you remember the old spell downs we used to have. That was usually kept for Fridays. It seems that winters were more severe at that time, but we managed, and the school was well supported by the members who lived there.
This one was open for 96 consecutive years. It was down to 3 students one year, all from the same family, and still the school board realized that that was not going to stay that way forever, that there was new enrollment going to be coming in, and they never closed it. 2 years, it was 4 students, my 3 brothers, and a niece to the teacher. And again, it did not close because they knew enrollment was going to come up. And they were dedicated to having a school in their backyard rather than combining with another school. and or sending the kids into a town school. That is what happened with a lot of the rural schools. As their enrollment went down, they would combine with another nearby school, or they just closed it completely and sent their kids to town. And so by 1971, when the state mandated closing of all rural schools, there were like 52, 53 schools of the 151 that were still open. The numbers had diminished because of combining and because of just plain closing for favor of going to a town school. The rule was that no child had to walk more than 5 miles. There had to be a school within 5 miles for a child to go to. And those children, had there not been a school that they could get to, they would not have been able to come into town and board with someone to get an education. They just would have been taught at home, and that would have been it. And as I say, many of those were people who really didn't have an education, and they were working so hard to eke out a living. Depression years, early pre-depression, life was hard, and schooling would have been, as much as they wanted their kids educated, it would have been down on the list of things that had to be done each day, because they were just too hard-working people, and not enough time, not enough hours, not enough knowledge to really be able to educate their own families. So the rural schools were really a blessing. They gave this country a lot of professionals. When I stop and think of people that are my age, out of my class, high school, if they had not gotten a good education in those first 8 years, they would not have been able to do well in high school, to go on to college, to be doctors. We've got doctors, we've got dentists, we've got lawyers. We've got a lot of professional people, as well as just a better educated blue-collar group that are that because of what they got in a rural school.
This school was very precious to us. It was the school that our children attended until the schools were closed. 4 of our 5 children went to school here. Our oldest son was in 1st grade, and he had like 4 or 5 students in his class. There were 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th graders. And as time went on, the 7th and 8th graders were taken out, and we just had grades 1 through 5.
It's open here at all times. Anytime there's something going on in the fairgrounds, there's someone here in the school working, so people can go through. We can talk to them and hear their stories and tell them ours. It is set up now just as it would have been when we went to school here. And it's because of all of the volunteer work that people have done and the things that have been donated and that we treasure and we'll take care of. We've been very lucky because there are a lot of people who feel about rural school education the same way we do, that have come forth and helped with volunteering their time and efforts for either restoration and or for just school sitting.
I think you got a lot more personal attention, because if there was somebody having a problem, there was concern. And if you had a problem and you were in the 2nd grade, the 5th grader sitting across from you, you'd just show him, and he would say, well, this is what you do. So some of the children taught each other also.
The advantage of a 1-room school or a 2-room school, that teacher had those kids for 8 hours every day. She got to know those kids, she got to know the families. Many cases, they had kids from 1st through 8th grade. They only had one teacher. The teacher stayed there for so many years. Many cases, some of those teachers taught their kids as kids. In fact, we had one teacher in here one time that had taught in the same district for 40 years, and she had had 3 generations of the same family. So they really became a part of the community, and the school was so much more a part of the community, because when it came time for things to be done, the wood wasn't always purchased wood, for example. And it didn't make any difference if you had kids going to school. If you had extra wood, you'd just donate some to the school. It was a barter system as far as people were concerned on what was needed and what was for the best of education. And it was a community center as well as it was an education, because it brought everyone in the district together at times for social events and so on that you wouldn't have had in any other way of education or school. And that's one of the things we kind of hope we can pass along to people and make them aware that schools weren't always great big schools with a lot of sports activities and other things, extracurricular things involved. It was education, and then it was education that really was the viewpoint of the day.
Thanks so much for watching. Join us again next week on Common Ground. If you have an idea for a Common Ground piece that pertains to North Central Minnesota, email us at legacy@lptv.org or call us at 218-333-3014. To view any episode of Common Ground online, visit us at lptv.org. To order episodes or segments of Common Ground, call 218-333-3020. Common Ground is brought to you by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund with money from the vote of the people November 4th, 2008. If you enjoyed this episode of Lakeland Public Television's Common Ground, consider making a contribution at lptv.org.